UFC 299, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera II just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight recap. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you my reaction and breakdown. And guys, it is 5 a.m., so do me a favor. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Starting off with the first fight of the night, Maryna Moroz versus Joanne Wood. Joanne Wood gets a split decision. I didn't see the first round. I thought Maryna Moroz won the second round. Joanne Wood damn near got a 10-8 in the third round after landing a nasty spinning back fist that basically KO'd Moroz. The cage held her up, and then she barely survived to the bell. You know, it was a competitive fight from what I saw. I don't think it was a robbery. Not a lot of people seemed outraged by it, but it's 5 a.m. I didn't go back and rewatch the first round, so I don't really know. But Joanne Wood wins 29-28 split decision, and she retires on a win. This was her last fight, so fair play to her. She gets it done over Maryna Moroz. Moving up on the card, we have CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabaev. Almabaev gets it done via unanimous decision. I scored at 30-27 for Almabaev. He was just able to out-grapple CJ Vergara. There was moments in this fight where CJ Vergara would start to have a little bit of success on the feet, and then boom, Almabaev just jumps in for a takedown, gets a single leg, drags Vergara to the ground, starts getting some top control, starts looking to take the back. I think he took the back multiple times throughout this fight. And just CJ Vergara had nothing to offer for him. I mean, as the fight went on, it seemed like Almabaev was starting to fade and Vergara had the stamina advantage. It seemed like in the third round, CJ Vergara was getting taken down, but he was able to get up a little bit easier than he was in the first and second round. But still on the feet, Almabaev, because of the threat of the takedown, was landing good shots on the feet. So Almabaev, 30-27 decision. CJ Vergara is a guy who has decent durability, has decent stamina, but I think his record kind of makes him look better than he actually is. I expected Almabaev to out-grapple him in this fight, and he outstruck him too because of the threat of the grappling in this fight, and he gets it done 30-27. Moving up on the card, we have Robelis Despaigne versus Josh Parisian in his butt crack. First round KO for Robelis Despaigne, and what a UFC debut this was. Now, fair enough, he's debuting against Josh Parisian, which obviously was set up to get Despaigne a win, but he came out early, super aggressive, finished him in the first 20 seconds of the fight, I believe, threw a head kick, slipped, fell off balance. As he's kind of scrambling back to his feet, Josh Parisian tries to pressure, gets clipped with the left hand, as Despaigne's trying to get back to his feet. Then as he's stumbling backwards, after he gets to his feet, lands a right hand, then another right hand, drops Josh Parisian, throws a couple, I think 1 or 2 shots. Referee jumped in almost immediately. I thought it was a little bit of an early stoppage, but it didn't change the outcome of the fight. Robelis Despaigne absolutely demolished Josh Parisian. And I think we're getting out ahead of ourselves hyping up Robelis Despaigne because he is a freak athlete and freakishly large and has a long reach and is super tall. But the heavyweight division is straight up garbage, guys. I mean, outside of like the top 5, the heavyweight division is horrendous. Robelis Despaigne, I want to see him get a decent step up in competition in his next fight. I don't even know if it's that big of a step up because the heavyweight division is garbage. But he went out there, performed, had a nasty KO over Josh Parisian, and got it done in literally 20 seconds. And his last, 3 fights only lasted, I think 19 seconds. So this fight lasted longer than his last 3 fights combined. I talked about it in my prediction video, but either way, super impressive, dominant win for his UFC debut from Robelis Despaigne. Moving up on the card, Michel Pereira versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. What a dominant win for Michel Pereira. He chokes him out in the first round and looked absolutely phenomenal. Nasty teep kicks, landed a right hand to the body that hurt Oleksiejczuk. Then right after that, he kind of rushes him to the fence, throws a knee that I thought landed, but upon the replay, it landed mainly to the forearms, but partially landed to the head. As soon as he throws that, starts looking for the rear naked choke, but doesn't have hooks in. They're in like an awkward position because Oleksiejczuk is hurt to the body. He's kind of leaning over up against the fence. He lets go of that. There's a little bit of a changing of positioning. Then boom, Michel Pereira, nasty knee to the body, gets him to hunch over even more, locks up the rear naked choke. They go to the ground. Pereira doesn't even bother cinching in the hooks at all and chokes Oleksiejczuk out cold in the first round. What a savage performance from Michel Pereira. He did a TikTok dance coming out. Looked incredible in the cage. I mean, he looks so good at middleweight. I can't wait to see what his future is at middleweight. Michal Oleksiejczuk, don't get me wrong, he's not a top-ranked fighter, but he's no pushover. And Michel Pereira finished him in 1 minute and 1 second, according to Tapology. Basically a minute. Finished him that quickly and finished him via submission. And how did Pereira ever make welterweight? No wonder Wonderboy didn't want to fight him when he missed weight. I'm starting to feel bad for that. My take on that. looked huge at middleweight, looked way better than Oleksiejczuk, who's been fighting at middleweight for a while, and Pereira just ran through him. I want to see Pereira getting a big step up in competition in his next fight. I think he's a legit contender at middleweight. I'm not saying he's going to be a champion. I'm not going to say he's going to fight for a champion anytime soon or championship anytime soon, but he looks super impressive in this fight. I can't wait to see who he fights next. You know, there's a lot of good options at middleweight for him, and we need some fresh contenders at middleweight. So Michel Pereira right now, stock is super high. Great win in the first round over Michel Oleksiejczuk. Moving up on the card, we have Philipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba. Basically, Cutelaba just got his legs beat to hell. I mean, he could not stop the leg kicks. And it was a close fight. I think the first round clearly went to Lins. Third round, no, I think the first round was the closest round. I think Cutelaba landed a couple shots. I can't remember for sure. It was so long. I did an 8-hour stream earlier. Now it's 5 a.m. and my brain's a little bit mush. I remember thinking when it went to the scorecards, Cutelaba could win. Because in the second and third round, basically Lins just kind of rode out the fight and just stalled out the fight, would get a takedown and just lay there and do nothing, get the clinch and just do absolutely nothing. And Cutelaba was being aggressive but not landing a whole lot and basically just got his leg chopped. And, you know, it was the leg damage really that Philipe Lins inflicted on Ion Cutelaba that won him this fight. But honestly, outside of the first round, it was an absolute stinker. Second round, Lins stalling. Third round, Lins stalling. The entire round. There was a back of the head elbow from Cutelaba in the third round. But I didn't think this was a robbery. I think Lins probably won, but I was just like, you know what? This third round, he stalled out and didn't do any damage. Maybe Cutelaba could steal the third round, and maybe he could steal, I think it was the first. But overall, it was probably the worst fight on the card. Philipe Lins gets it done primarily with his leg kicks. Cutelaba could not check a leg kick to save his life. Moving up on the card, we have Pedro Munhoz versus Kyler Phillips. Pedro Munhoz, the guy that Marlon Vera barely squeaked by to get tonight's title shot. Kyler Phillips completely outclassed him. Munhoz got an early takedown, didn't really do anything with it, and then that was it for the entire fight. Got eye poked on the way up after the takedown. Kyler Phillips was lighting him up on the feet, had great movement. I mean, great movement in this fight. Was tagging him with combinations, landing knees. Had a good flurry at the end of the first round, but then there was like an eye poke that got him a break, but Munhoz wasn't hurt badly and like kind of ushered to get the fight started back up, even though it looked like, oh, maybe Kyler Phillips was getting close to maybe starting a finishing sequence. But Kyler Phillips, second round, again, just lighting him up, super accurate. Landing kicks, landing good combinations, moving well. Third round, same thing. Munhoz got a little bit more urgent in the third round. He was bloodied up. He knew he lost the first two rounds, but Kyler Phillips just beat him up with volume, man. Munhoz didn't even land a whole lot of leg kicks, and that's what he's known for. And Kyler Phillips, it's crazy. I mean, they were talking about in the commentary, Petr Yan has been ranked in the bantamweight division for so long, and now he's going to lose that ranking. So, I mean, Kyler Phillips looks super impressive. I know Kyler Phillips has been caught using PEDs before. I'm not going to lie, this post-USADA era, Kyler Phillips' cardio looked awfully suspicious in this fight. It was a crazy output, and I know there's guys that have freakish cardio, but when I see a drastic change like this for Kyler Phillips where he's gassing out against Holland, I know that was a while ago, but dominated the first round, gassed out, lost the second and third. It was crazy seeing the level of output he had in this fight. I mean, he was nonstop moving, lateral movement, and just piecing up Pedro Munhoz. Never really ate much in return from Pedro Munhoz and just completely outclassed him to a 30-27 decision. But the cardio was a little bit suspicious for Kyler Phillips. Moving up on the card, we have Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. This was a great fight. Early, RDA looked very good. Hurt him badly. Landed a knee on Gamrot that hurt him. Landed a punch that hurt him. There were some wild grappling exchanges where it seemed like RDA might be able to stuff the takedowns. And, you know, the first round RDA definitely had. But then after that, it was just Gamrot getting him down and RDA working back to his feet and then some mat returns. And there were some ugly takedown attempts from Gamrot where he would pull almost a Muhammad Makayev where RDA would kind of rush in and then Gamrot would just sit down and look for a takedown, but he was getting takedowns, and then RDA would work his way back to his feet, and Gamrot would land some shots in the clinch and land a little bit of shots on the ground, and it was just RDA. The RDA's always had an issue with elite-level grapplers, and it's been exposed at welterweight, but I was thinking in this fight, damn, RDA might actually be able to get this done, but second round was close, but Gamrot out-grappling him, and then the third round, Gamrot just nonstop grappling. RDA was being scrappy and being able to find his way back to his feet. But even when they kind of broke, because Gamrot occasionally would just kind of give up on the takedown, get a little bit tired and like go back to striking, Gamrot was doing okay on the feet as well. He was landing good body kicks. He only got hurt in the first round and then won clearly the second and third round, out grappling RDA, landing good shots on the feet. RDA is still very good for where he's at, at his age, and have fought the who's who of the lightweight and welterweight division. So this was a good performance by RDA. I know he lost, but I still thought it was a solid performance, a decent showing. And Gamrot, I know people call him, say he's a fluke machine, and he's gotten some questionable wins and whatnot, but I still think this is a decent win. He better end up in the rankings over Michael Chandler after this streak that he's been on, regardless of what you want to say about the Fiziev injury. And some people thought the fight against Jalen Turner was a robbery, and now he's fighting, RDA. Some people would probably call him a dead body. I don't think he's a dead body. The grappling was just too much for RDA, which we've seen time and time again. I scored it 29-28. I think that's what the judges scored it, to be quite honest. There was some fence grabs that drove me nuts in this fight. There was one in the second round from Gamrot. I believe it was when they were on the ground, and the commentator said it was RDA. It was not RDA. And then in the clinch in the third round, Gamrot was doing that little trick where they're in the clinch, where Gamrot has the advantageous position, and he's got the fingers interlocked in the cage behind RDA's back. It was driving me nuts. It was annoying. I'm so tired of fence grabs in MMA, but Gamrot gets it done. Moving up on the card, we have Katlyn Cerminara versus Maycee Barber. There was 230-27 scorecards. I thought that was completely egregious. Second round, I thought Katlyn Cerminara clearly won the second round, was landing right hands at range. First round, I thought was razor close, but there was a takedown attempt from Cerminara where she got stuffed and then kind of flattened out, and Maycee Barber landed some shots on the way up. And then the third round, they both got a takedown with no damage. There was like a leg lock scramble at one point from Cerminara, and I thought the right hands from Cerminara won in the third round. So I scored second and third for Cerminara. I scored first round for Maycee Barber. I didn't think it was like a brutal robbery, but it just seems like any time there's a close decision, it seems to go Maycee Barber's way. She got a brutal robbery against Andrea Lee. That wasn't even a close decision. Shouldn't even been a split decision, let alone, and I don't even know if that was a split decision. Shouldn't have went to Maycee Barber. This fight, I don't think it was a robbery, but I could see how you can give 1 and 3. But 2 30-27s? What the hell? How do you score round 2? Katlyn Cerminara, or Katlyn Chukagian, which I keep wanting to call her just because that's her former name, was lighting her up with right hands. First round, honestly, Cerminara was clinching up with Maycee Barber, which made no sense, but had double underhooks. I almost said overhooks. That's how brain dead I am right now. And Maycee Barber's just kind of throwing like weird shots, but she's landing and throwing some elbows as Katlyn has the underhooks. But then in the second round, her corner told her just fight from range, and she was fighting from range, and she was stinging Maycee Barber with the right hand. Then the third round, I just thought Cerminara did a little bit better. It was a close round. Overall, not a robbery, but 30-27 on two judges' scorecards. Absolutely egregious, but Maycee Barber gets the win. Moving up on the card to the featured prelim, we have Curtis Blaydes versus Jailton Almeida. Curtis Blaydes gets a second round KO. First round, Jailton Almeida comes out, starts ragdolling Curtis Blaydes. Could not believe. I thought Jailton Almeida would take him down. I thought Jailton Almeida would find a finish. Ragdolling Curtis Blaydes. Mat return after mat return after mat return. Just picking him up, slamming him down. Then he would just do different types of trips as he would have him on a single leg, kick out the leg out from underneath him. Jailton Almeida had a million takedowns in the first round, but didn't do any damage. I'm getting sick and tired of Jailton Almeida taking people down, not doing any damage. It's infuriating. And he paid for it with his consciousness in the second round. Immediately shoots in another takedown, sniffing Curtis Blaydes' balls. I don't mind grappling, but that's literally what he was doing. And Curtis Blaydes says, you know what? I'm just going to start slamming hammer fist in. His head's there. I'm going to lean over. Similar to what Travis Brown does with the elbows back in the day. That's why I call them the Travis Brown elbows, the ones that Alex Pereira KO'd Yuri Prohaska with. Curtis Blaydes just starts throwing hammer fist to the side of the head and just starts smashing him. 10, 15 shots. I didn't count them all. Puts him out. Finishes him badly in the second round. I don't get it. Your head is wide open. You're getting smashed. Why are you not removing yourself from that situation? Made no sense. He was just hanging onto the legs for his life and got smashed. Now, I will say, I went back and looked at it in slow-mo. Live, I thought there was a couple that landed to the back of the head. When I rewatched it, the last two that really put him out were pretty much dead centered to the back of the head. But at the end of the day, I think he was already in the finishing sequence, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But Jailton Almeida is just too much of a one-trick pony. He could have had this win, but he's just no fight IQ. Absolutely no fight IQ. Why would you stay there? Why would you stay there? Your head and his crotch just getting smashed by hammer fist from a guy who's a massive heavyweight, probably cuts down to 265. Made absolutely no sense, but I thought it was actually hilarious seeing him pay for it. And I'm not one of these anti-grappling guys, but when you're not doing any damage on the ground And he did absolutely no damage to Curtis Blaydes in the first round at all. Just took him down over and over again. It was impressive. At one point, when he picked him up and slammed him down, Curtis Blaydes put his arm over the cage to try to lessen the impact, which was weird to see. And it was just crazy to see a grappling exchanges between two massive guys. But Jailton Almeida, just too predictable, too one-dimensional, and paid for it in the second round against Curtis Blaydes. And, I mean, what a nasty finish it was, too. That's going to change his career. And I think that's his first loss at heavyweight, at least his first loss at heavyweight in the UFC. Moving up on the card to the to the first fight on the main card. Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. What a fight this was. I was rooting for Petr Yan to get back on the winning track. I feel like he's kind of had a little bit of a shitty career in a way, kind of the way he's kind of lost certain decisions and he kind of made a mistake. The butterfly effect from that illegal knee, that's all his fault. First round was close. Song was landing some good left hands, feinting a lot of takedowns, getting big reactions out of Petr Yan. And then Song Yadong got a couple takedowns in this round. Didn't get a whole lot of control time, landed some okay shots on the ground. Yan would scramble back to his feet. I thought, especially with the grappling, Song won the first round. Landed some good leg kicks as well. Second round, Yan started to pick up the pace. We know Yan always loses the first round. Yan started picking up the pace, ripping to the body, landing good shots, landing uppercuts as Song would feint the takedowns, reacting better to the takedown attempts from Song Yadong. And then at the end of the round, it was a very close round, but I thought Yan was edging it out. Yan gets a takedown, gets some top control for like the last minute, lands some decent ground and pound, got an elbow that cut up Song Yadong in the second round. Clear win for Petr Yan. Clear win of the second round for Petr Yan. And then the third round was really close as well. It was getting better. There were some, takedown attempts from Song where there were some good scrambles and, both guys were going back and forth. Yan was just landing the better shots. Song was getting cut up with some good combinations. There were some rips to the body. And then there was a late takedown again from Yan and damage. I think it was the last 30 seconds, last minute of the third round as well to seal off the third round. It was a clear win for Petr Yan, 2 and 3, 29-28. I believe that's what all the judges gave it as well. It's just Song Yadong is powerful and fast as hell. But he started to slow down in this fight. And had it been a 5-round main event, I think Yan would have finished him probably in the 4th round. It's just like once some of that speed was sapped from Song Yadong, Yan really started to light him up to the body and land that uppercut repeatedly and landed a couple really good hard body kicks. And then Song's punches were coming kind of labored and kind of slow where Yan could, in the first round, that left hand was just zinging Yan. Even in the beginning of the second round, a couple of those left hands got through. But as that fight went on, it seemed like Song was just throwing and landing on forearms, or Yan was getting out of the way and looking elusive, had really good head movement. Happy to see Petr Yan back on the winning track. I think Song Yadong's a future title contender no matter what. He's super young. And I'm just happy to see Petr Yan. People are saying Yan's washed and blah, 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 this and that. Yan's still one of the best bantamweights in the world. And in this fight, if I was him or his manager, I would have been campaigning for a 5-round fight. But in this fight, after I seen him lose that first round, I'm saying, damn, Yan. And then the second round was close early on, but then he started mixing the grappling and really sealed off that round. Good fight IQ from Petr Yan. People forget Petr Yan has excellent grappling. Look at the way, I know he got out-grappled by Moroz, but look at the way he was able to scramble back to his feet multiple times. Million times in that fight. Look at the way he ragged out Aljamain Sterling in the 4th and 5th round of the rematch. Look at the way he ragged out Aljamain Sterling in the first fight. Yan has some really good grappling. And, the takedown defense was kind of a curse in this fight because Yan kept feinting and getting these huge reactions out of Yan and then would land, or Song would keep feinting at Yan to get these big reactions from him and then land the left hand afterwards. But overall, phenomenal performance, elite performance from Petr Yan, getting it done and getting back on the winning track. Moving up on the card, we have Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. 3rd round KO from Jack Della Maddalena over Gilbert Burns in a fight that he was losing. And, we saw the judges' scorecards. I think 2 judges had it Burns up 2 rounds. 1 judge had it 1-1 going into 3rd. And you go through the fight. Early Burns was looking for takedowns. JDM was scrambling well. They were both kind of landing decent shots on the feet. Burns had a couple good body kicks throughout the fight in general. JDM was landing with the hands, but he was a little bit tentative because he was worried about the takedown. And then at the end of the first round, it was a close first round. I slightly leaned Burns. Burns got a takedown, landed 1 really good hammer fist at the end of the first round, which I thought really sealed the round for him. Then in the second round, there was a nasty standing elbow from Gilbert Burns, where if JDM's nose wasn't crooked, it would have been after that elbow. It would have been smashed to look like the way it is now. And also there was a good right hand from Burns. Then he got a takedown, did a little bit of ground and pound, ended up taking his back, controlling him for a bit. Clearly the second round for Gilbert Burns. JDM had a couple moments where he landed some combinations, but he wasn't really sitting on any of his shots because he was worried about the takedown threat from Gilbert Burns. I thought he showed good scrambles in this fight though. Third round, Gilbert Burns losing on the feet, gets a takedown. It's like I think he had like a cradle initially, then they're kind of up against the fence, and Burns is looking like he's finally going to cement the position. And you see JDM kind of grimacing, and it looks like he might be hurt or something along those lines. He then scrambles up, uses like his last bit of energy on the ground to like kind of like use his feet on the cage and flip over, and he gets away from Burns. He gets up, Burns gets up, squares up for just a second, then immediately starts to look for a takedown. JDM times him perfectly and lands a picture-perfect knee. And basically after the knee, it was done. Burns went down. JDM starts smashing him with ground and pound, nasty elbows. It's a bit of a late stoppage, and there was a couple elbows that were to the back of Gilbert Burns' head. You know, I don't want to be that guy that's always talking about back of the head shots, but there was a couple elbows that landed to the back of Gilbert Burns' head. But overall, what a comeback win from JDM. And I know, you know, JDM kind of got exposed a bit against Basil Hafez, but in this fight, I know we got out-grappled for the first and second round. I know he was getting out-grappled a little bit in the third round, but he shows that he's been working on it. And to come from behind and face adversity like this and still win, that helps you get exponentially better in the future because he's going to learn a lot from this. And Gilbert Burns is an absolute savage. Burns was landing big shots in this fight. And that knee, I mean, that perfectly timed knee, without that knee, JDM loses this fight. Potentially even 30-27, which is even great, which is just crazy to even think of. But, yeah, Burns had it in the bag, made a mistake, shot in on a sloppy takedown when he's getting tired, gets caught with a nasty knee and put away with ground and pound shots from JDM. I can't wait. JDM then goes on the mic and calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shout out to these guys calling out other contenders. I absolutely love that matchup. And I'm loving the welterweight division if it starts getting some movement. I mean, JDM versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, that's co-main event of a pay-per-view, at least for me. That should be a main event of a fight night card, a big fight night card. That would be huge. So love that fight, love that matchup. Favor Shavkat right now. I just think he would out-grapple JDM. But JDM is going to be working on his grappling nonstop. He knows that's the hole in his game. His boxing looks crisp. He has nasty boxing and finishing ability. So great win from JDM, coming back from adversity and finishing Gilbert Burns. Moving up on the card to the featured fight on the main card, we have Kevin Holland, Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page wins via unanimous decision. And honestly, I think two judges had it 29-28 and one judge had it 30-27 for Michael Venom Page. I thought it was a clear 30-27 for Michael Venom Page. Fight started out, Michael Venom Page just landing the right hand at will, lighting him up on the feet. Kevin Holland just kind of pressing forward, looking to clinch. But honestly, Michael Venom Page was doing very good in the clinch in the first round. And then towards the end of the first round, spinning back elbow lands for MVP. Nasty elbow that I thought hurt Kevin Holland. Second round was the closest round of the entire fight. MVP lighting him up on the feet, slips off of, I think, a kick. Ends up getting taken down by Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland starts looking for a rear naked choke, but he's not in the perfect position. And MVP goes to his back. Kevin Holland gets full mount. Starts throwing down some brutal elbows. But I think a lot of them were blocked. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it. I think a lot of them were blocked by MVP. Eventually, MVP scrambles back to his feet and starts lighting Kevin Holland up again. And landing the right hand, I think he even dropped him, but it might have been a slip in the second round. I thought MVP clearly won the second round. Then the third round, which was kind of the most telling round of the entire fight, MVP drops him early, but then Kevin Holland said, I was trying to touch gloves, and then MVP kind of lets him up, and then he kind of says, I'm sorry about that. But after that, MVP just picks him apart. Entire third round, Holland's trying to clinch up to save his life, and MVP's literally just shucking him off, like bullying Kevin Holland in the clinch, stuffing the takedowns, landing on the feet, toying with him a bit, landing body kicks, landing like crazy kicks throughout the entire fight. Kevin Holland had nothing to offer. Talked about this guy's a Bellator fighter and blah, blah, blah. Send Kevin Holland to PFL. That's where Kevin Holland honestly belongs. He doesn't belong in the top 15. And MVP, who people said, oh, he's from Bellator, he's 37 years old, he's a bum. MVP completely outclassed Kevin Holland. And he's got to work on his grappling for sure. That's where MVP's kind of hole in his game is. Kevin Holland tried and could not exploit it. And he had nothing to offer. MVP with the stance where he has his hands super low and he's kind of darting in and out. he was lighting Kevin up with that right hand over and over and over. And I think there was multiple times throughout this fight where it seemed like Holland got hurt, like he was on kind of jelly legs a little bit after a big shot. There was like 2 spinning back elbows, I think one in the first round, one in the third round. Might have been in the second round, though. And I thought there was multiple times where MVP was kind of taunting. In the third round, he was really taunting him after like dropping him a couple times and shucking him off and tripping him a couple times. Or at least once, I think it was in the third round. He was taunting him a bit. I felt like he could have followed him down and maybe finished him. There was a couple times where I thought, okay, take advantage of it, look for the finish here. But either way, he gets the unanimous decision win and absolutely dominated Kevin Holland. I don't think those couple elbows in that rear naked choke attempt in the second round that lasted all of 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. I don't think that wins Kevin Holland the round whatsoever when Michael Venom Page was lighting him up on the feet. Phenomenal debut by MVP. I hope the UFC matches him up well in his next fight because he's not a contender just yet. He's going to be top 15. So I guess you can call him a little bit of a contender. But on the rise, I want to see him versus Wonderboy next. Wonderboy versus MVP. That is the fight to make, UFC. If you fumble that, I don't know what you're doing. Great performance by MVP. Showed that a guy who was in Bellator can come into the UFC and beat a guy like Kevin Holland, who I think people have been overhyping for years because he takes short notice fights and gets absolutely dominated. So people just hype him up because he talks and because he takes short notice fights. So good win from MVP. I think still he has a lot to prove in the UFC, but he came in and got a decent win over basically a journeyman in Kevin Holland. And I mean, the way he outclassed him is what I'm so impressed in. If he just beats Kevin Holland, fair enough. I don't think it's that great, but I mean, Kevin Holland looked like he saw a ghost in there. Wasn't even fighting at some points. Was just staring at MVP because of MVP's funky fight style and was worried about what was coming back at him and just constantly trying to clinch and look for takedowns. A guy who wouldn't even... If this would have been a 5-round fight, I think Kevin Holland would have quit on a stool. I'm being dead serious. I think he would have quit like he quit against Wonderboy. So MVP, can't wait to see who he fights next in the UFC. It better be Wonderboy. Moving up on the card, we have Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Dustin Poirier gets it done via second round KO. And honestly, this was a super chaotic fight. But I will say, even though Benoit Saint-Denis won the first round, I might do a full breakdown on this fight maybe tomorrow. Saint-Denis got exposed a little bit in this fight with his striking. First round, and Dustin Poirier, I went back and rewatched this fight. Dustin Poirier looked for a guillotine 6 times. 3 times he pulled guard with a guillotine. Horrible fight IQ in that regard, and he said in his post-fight, I'm never going to stop doing it. He did it against Khabib, and that's when he ended up getting finished by Khabib as well. First round, they're trading some leg kicks. Benoit Saint-Denis looks for a double leg. Dustin Poirier pulls guard with a guillotine. Ends up giving up his back, getting back to his feet. They're kind of positioning themselves there, kind of fighting over position. Dustin Poirier is complaining about glove grabs. Eventually, Saint-Denis ends up on his back, kind of in like a standing rear naked choke position. But eventually, Poirier shakes him off. Benoit Saint-Denis doesn't give him any space, though. Starts kind of moving forward, landing big elbows in the clinch. And Dustin Poirier in this first round, I mean, again, just looking for guillotine after guillotine. At one point, Poirier looked for a takedown in the first round. Benoit Saint-Denis used a Kimura to sweep, but they both ended up scrambling back to their feet. But the last minute and 30 seconds of the first round, Benoit Saint-Denis in on another takedown. Dustin Poirier pulls guillotine again and pulls guard again. Gives up his back for the last minute in like a dominant position for Benoit Saint-Denis, looking for the rear naked choke. Clearly, at the end of the first round, it's clearly BSD's first round. Landed better shots in the clinch, good elbows in the clinch, and had a good amount of grappling control, looking for submissions, looking for rear naked chokes. Second round, I could not believe my eyes. Dustin Poirier hurt Saint-Denis early with an uppercut. I think it was an uppercut. Then immediately, Benoit Saint-Denis looks for a takedown, and Dustin Poirier pulls guard with a guillotine yet again. Yet again, pulls guard again, ends up giving up his back, gets flattened out. He was full mounted for a second, then ends up getting flattened out. Poirier ended up getting a little bit of damage from ground and pound, but not that much. And then it ends up, basically having Benoit Saint-Denis on his back again, similar to the end of the first round. Benoit Saint-Denis looking for the rear naked choke, couldn't get it. And they ended up in like a seated position up against the fence. Poirier reaches down, digs out one of the hooks, and stands up. And that's where it all kind of starts to go downhill for Benoit Saint-Denis because he's slowing down, he's marching forward, looking to clinch up. Poirier's landing on the feet with good shots. I think there was 2 more guillotine attempts, but they were like, he was hurting him on the feet, tagging him on the feet, And Saint-Denis would kind of put his head down looking for a takedown. Dustin would kind of go for him. They kind of got a little bit close, but he didn't actually pull guard this time. He disengaged. And then the finishing sequence was a nasty right hand to the body. Then he dropped him with a left hand, kind of stumbled him with a left hand. And then he went for another guillotine. He went for another guillotine just for a brief second, lets it go. Then a filthy right hand just puts Benoit Saint-Denis down. He was already done at that point, but he was still kind of awake, and the ref hadn't gotten there yet. Poirier, picture-perfect right hand ground and pound, and absolutely sleeps Benoit Saint-Denis. Shout out to Dustin Poirier. He went to war in this fight. But you could see, and when I went back and rewatched it, I saw it even clearer without the kind of anticipation and hype. In distance, in space, Poirier was boxing Benoit Saint-Denis up. Now, don't get me wrong, Saint-Denis had a grappling advantage, but I think this is one of those fights where Benoit Saint-Denis is going to learn a lot from this fight, because he's so used to, bullying these guys. He only has one loss, and it was up a weight class on short notice. He probably, in his mind, thinks it was up a weight class on short notice. It doesn't matter. He tried to bully Dustin Poirier in this fight, and Poirier wasn't having it. And Poirier made a lot of mistakes. I mean, look for 6 guillotines, 3 of them pulling guard. Horrible mistakes. Imagine if he doesn't make those decisions. And even said in the post-fight, I'm going to do it again. Imagine he doesn't make those decisions. What does this fight look like? Saint-Denis had some good shots in the clinch, had some really good elbows, but Poirier didn't even get cut. They were talking about Poirier got cut. Poirier didn't get cut. Benoit Saint-Denis actually got cut on his, I think, right eyebrow. Dustin was boxing him up. And without the guillotine attempts, I think Dustin probably just cleans Benoit Saint-Denis up. Benoit Saint-Denis has a lot to learn and has to, really evolve quite a bit if he wants to be able to compete with the top guys like Dustin Poirier, like Justin Gaethje. But overall, he was in good positions, and I just think he was so used to getting guys out of there. I don't know if he would have won this fight. I mean, 5-round fight. I was saying as the fight was going on, Benoit Saint-Denis was looking good, and I don't want to shit on him too much here. I picked him to win. I picked him to win by second-round rear naked choke, and in that beginning of that second round, I thought I was going to get it right. But as I'm watching this fight, man, and I'm seeing it go long, I'm like, the longer it goes, the more it favors Dustin Poirier. And when he got up from that position where Benoit Saint-Denis had his back, I could see those shots were coming in slow motion. And Joe Rogan in the commentary was horrible. When I went back and rewatched it, Joe Rogan's like, Poirier's exhausted here. Poirier was not exhausted. Poirier was showing up against the fence, countering well. And that finishing sequence was absolutely nasty. I think it was a right hand, then right hook, then straight left that dropped him. And then boom, another right, or after a guillotine attempt, then another right hand that just put him down badly. Dustin Poirier with a savage win over Benoit Saint-Denis in the co-main event. Didn't need 5 rounds, put him out in 2 rounds. Super impressive performance. I might make a dedicated video on this fight. If you want to see that, let me know down in the comments. Moving on to the main event, Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera II. I already made a dedicated video on this. If you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description. Sean O'Malley dominated Marlon Vera. Absolutely dominated Marlon Vera from start to finish. The first round, Marlon Vera landed like 1 shot. Second round, Marlon Vera landed like 1 shot, and O'Malley almost finished him in the second round with a nasty knee and then swarmed him afterwards. Third round, Vera started to pick up kind of the aggression a little bit, but he wasn't having a lot of effect. And then the fourth round, same thing, maybe a little bit more aggressive, grabbing the back of the head. I think he landed a good knee in the fourth round. Vera did, but O'Malley's just piecing him up, landing straight right, switching stances, constantly switching stances. Whatever stance Vera is in, that's the stance that O'Malley's going in, so that Vera couldn't abuse that lead leg. If Vera's southpaw, O'Malley was southpaw. If Vera was orthodox, O'Malley was orthodox. And O'Malley was just too fast and too accurate. He butchered Vera throughout this fight. And then in the 5th round, going into the 5th round, they know they're up 4-0. His coach is like, don't engage that much, just pot shot him. You got this fight won. I respect O'Malley so much. He was looking for a finish in this round. He was swarming Vera, beating the dog shit out of Vera. And, looked so impressive in this fight. Absolutely destroyed him. Absolutely masterclassed on Marlon Vera. And people are saying, oh, this proves the first fight was a fluke. And I broke this down in my other video. That was 4 years ago. Both of them have gotten so much better. O'Malley's leaps and bounds better than he was 4 years ago. Does not prove that fight was a fluke. Marlon Vera's gotten better too, but he just hasn't gotten as good as Sean O'Malley has. Marlon Vera squeaked by Pedro Munhoz, got dominated by Corey Sandhagen. He didn't deserve this fight at all. But Marlon Vera, he's just durable. What can you say? He's durable. But he just plots forward and eats shots. We've seen it time and time again now. He almost lost to Pedro Munhoz, who lost to Kyler Phillips on the prelims. But I will say O'Malley looked super good in this fight. The stamina was incredible. I thought he was going to gas out with the amount of volume he was putting out. There was no grappling exchanges, so I really can't say much about that. The variety of attack from O'Malley, the accuracy of O'Malley, he was landing the right hand over and over and over again. The kicks were incredible. He was landing nasty kicks to the body, even landed a couple spinning back kicks to the body, landed a couple head kicks through the guard of Marlon Vera. O'Malley diced him up. O'Malley brutalized him in this fight. Absolutely brutalized him. In that second round knee, oh my God, it was so loud. It just absolutely destroyed Marlon Vera. And really, Marlon Vera had no answers. He got a little bit more aggressive in the third, fourth, and fifth round, but absolutely really nothing. Outside of, there was a nasty body shot right at the tail end of the fifth round that the commentary team pointed out. They showed the replay. It was right to the solar plex of O'Malley. O'Malley sat down right at the end of the round. It happened literally the last second. But outside of that, Marlon Vera didn't really have any good moments in this fight. Couldn't touch him. Marlon Vera was trying to land. He looked amateurish against O'Malley. O'Malley super slick on the feet, so fast, so accurate, so powerful. Marlon Vera didn't belong in there. He was number 5. He should have been number 6. I think he just moved up to number 5. Didn't deserve this title fight. O'Malley calls out Ilia Topuria afterwards. I don't want to see that fight at all. At all. Ilia Topuria will take Sean O'Malley's soul, and it's just a pointless fight when we can have divisions and move on. They need to book Sean O'Malley versus Moroz Dvalishvili. That is the fight to make, and that's a massive fight, in my opinion, and an amazing stylistic matchup. But ultimately, as much as I'm praising Sean O'Malley for this performance, this is what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to outclass Marlon Vera. I picked him 4 years ago. I thought he was better than him on the feet then. I was wrong. But, you know, he's gotten so much better over the last 4 years, and he picked Marlon Vera apart. Honestly, it's going to sound crazy. In a justified world, they stop it after the third round. Not in MMA world, maybe in the boxing world. He had nothing to offer. Absolutely nothing to offer in this fight. Got a little bit aggressive in the fourth round. That was Marlon Vera's probably best round. But just damn, I mean, he looked horrible. I don't even know why they interviewed him afterwards. He didn't even look, he was unrecognizable. And, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. O'Malley got a favorable first title defense and absolutely put on a masterclass performance. And, you know, we talk about no serious injuries. Now he's got a boot. He limped out of the cage. He's got a boot on his right foot. I'm curious, how long is he going to be out for? I want to see him versus Moroz. Hopefully we get to see that some point at the end of this year. They're talking about maybe going back to Miami. Dana White was asked about in the press conference. Maybe they could do it again there. Maybe O'Malley is on, you know, International Fight Week in June. I don't know if he can make that type of turnaround. I mean, it's not that far. Yeah, I guess it would be too much. That would roughly be like 3.5 months. It's probably too much of a turnaround. So probably see him after 301 in Brazil, which is in May, right? Yeah, it's in May. So maybe June, July, or not even, I mean, not June. That would be too close. I just said that. It's late, guys. It's late. Sorry. So maybe August, September. But either way, I want to see O'Malley versus Moroz Dvalishvili. Masterclass performance tonight against Marlon Chito Vera. And, dude, Vera took so much damage in this fight. He got his ass whooped badly by O'Malley. But I'm super impressed by the performance. I don't think anything's putting Marlon Vera away. The chin is incredible. The stamina's pretty good as well. But he had nothing to offer for Sean O'Malley. Let me know what you guys thought of the card down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.